What's happening? Welcome to On the One. My name's Corey Wong. I'm your host today, and we are doing Brooklyn Bop by request. I'm going to pull up a session file that I haven't pulled up in over a year. Something is weird with this session. I remember something being... Oh yeah, here's what it is. Missing audio files. Yeah, the piano is missing. That's why I haven't talked about this song yet in a production breakdown, is because I lost the piano and forgot that I lost piano. Give me 2 minutes. Let me see if I can find this piano file on one of these drives. Bruh. This is what I'm dealing with. Hartsfield, Wolfpack 2024. I have no idea. Wong Notes 1, Metropole 1, Wong's Cafe, Striped Album Meditation, Golden Hour, Paisley. These are from Jacob Butler. Bonnaroo, Clarity of Cal, Fearless Flyers, Wolfpack, Wong Live Tour. My last tour. Okay, that's on me. Honestly, I have no idea where this piano file is. James Francis, sorry, bro. Hey, it's on the album. Okay, that's all that matters. All right, the genesis of this song is actually pretty interesting because coming out of the thing a few years ago, the old Pandy Express, I was itching to play live, and I didn't have any gigs booked, so I thought, oh, it'd be cool. I can just go to New York, do a little Corey Wong and Friends gig, throw some of my friends together, have a kind of a jam session, and we did 2 shows at the Sultan Room in Brooklyn. It was amazing, very fun show, and I just put together a bunch of new music, some stuff that I had already had from my albums, but other things. It was just like I made voice memos, and I went into the sound check, and I was like, guys, I got an idea for this, and then we just started developing it, and it turned into this tune. So Brooklyn Bop is a tune that came from sound check at the Sultan Room. You can check out a little video here. But it was written by myself, Jordan Rose, Sam Greenfield, Eddie Barbash, Eric Finland, and Taz on guitar. It's just everybody's contributing a little bit here and there. It just ended up being a whole thing. It was great. All right, so this one at its core is really just an A section melody and a B section melody. And then it's just piecing it together however. If you haven't watched any of these videos before, I'll show you kind of how I organize my sessions, and I'll just go down so you can hear the sounds of each of the instruments on their own. On the drums, we have Armando Lopez. On the bass, it is Johannes Tona. Guitar, it's me. B3 and Whirly is Kevin Gastongue. The piano is James Francis, which I can't tell you how upset I am with myself. Honestly, how mad I'm at myself? I'm at about a 4 out of 10. Not that mad, because the album's out and the piano is on the album. But I'm a little disappointed in myself that I've lost these files. Where are they? On the horns, this is Kenny Holman on the saxes. We got Jay Webb on the trumpet and flugel, and Michael Nelson on the trombone. A Hornheads arrangement. The drums start here. This is Armando Lopez on the drums. You know, I'm not going to lie. There's something right now that's bugging me in the snare. This is what it's... That's bugging me. But in context, maybe... Look at this. The album's already out and I'm still mixing it. What am I doing here? This is the bane of every mixing engineer. It's like, the album's already out. Why am I dipping 250 hertz here? Why? Just to satisfy my own today. You'll see there's a lot of plugins that were around just in case. I think what ended up happening, so we recorded this at John Field's studio, Strawberry Studios at Creation in Minneapolis. I think it was his template, and then I just took off a bunch of plugins and I simplified it a little bit. But his the thing that I learned a lot from John is a lot of times he'll send all the drums to just a regular submix, and then he'll do another one where it's like crushed. A lot of... So if you really smashed mix mixed in with this one that's not compressed at all. Parallel compression thing. It's cool. Looks like I was a little bit lazy mixing this one on the toms. Normally I strip the silence, but it looks like I was just using the gates instead. What I typically do is I'll mute this. I'll go through and find where the toms hit, tab to transient, and then just go like that. So everything's muted, but I guess I was just using the gates. How do these gates work? Are they doing all right? Fine. On the bass, Johannes Tona. How many compressors we got on here? What are we doing? Oh, this one's barely doing anything. You know I love my C4 on the bass. Little compression. That is so much, but hey, it works. Archetype Corey Wong. You can see we are using the Clean Machine amp on this one. You can see I was trying different verbs. I had a little of this Valhalla Rube. I'll show you what it's like without it. The very small ambience does a little thing. Looks like I was experimenting with a spring instead. Nah, added too much of a thing. For this rhythmic thing, I didn't want that boinginess of the spring to get in the way. Hammond, this is Kevin Gastongway on the keys. That's a real organ. You hear it right away. Man, the RX is putting in work on this session. Must have been a noisy day. Some days are just noisy in the studio, you know? Hear that drum bleed? That's called recording live in the studio together. On the organ, the way that we mic it is stereo up top and then a bottom mic. The bottom mic gets the big horn. Top mic gets the small horn. So in the stereo mics up top, I cut a lot of low end because we have the low end from the bottom. And on the bottom, I cut a little bit of top end because we already have the top end elsewhere. Wurlitzer track that obviously got muted here. What's going on there? Again, RX putting in work. We'll just mute it for now. The piano, I'm so pissed at myself. What happened to these tracks? Also, what's going on with this EQ? I don't know, whatever. I felt like it was necessary at the time. Just a little EQ and compression. We recorded the piano separate. I did this later. I did this at Sear Sound Studio in New York City. Great studio. James Francis, I'm sorry, bro. And now that I think about it, I remember, yeah, there was a bass solo and a piano solo on this song. There was no guitar solo. Yeah, this is called Brooklyn Bop 1 solo. Because this was 2 solos on this one. And then I got in my head, I was like, I don't have enough guitar solos in the album. People are like complaining that I need to play more guitar. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll play a guitar solo. And then I had a piano solo and a guitar solo, but then it felt a little too long. But, in the end, I was happy that I recorded a guitar solo. And actually, there's a funny music video that I shot. I'm going all over the place here. There's a funny music video that I shot for a documentary that is yet to come out. Ooh, mysterious teaser. There's some documentary that I shot a music video for this song for, and it is hilarious. And it's the first time I ever had to like mime a guitar solo of mine. I'm like, I don't remember what I played. I just did it in the studio. So I tried to remember my guitar solo back. I actually haven't seen the whole video yet, but I hopefully it comes out. Anyway, got the horn heads here. Not gonna lie, off the bat, that's way more reverb than I would normally. My taste right now is saying, bro, back it off. But sounded like Gloria Estefan record. No shade. I'm just saying that's a lot of reverb. I take it back. It works in the track. You can see I did some cutting in between here because Kenny Holman, man, this guy is king of the buttons. In between, he goes da da dun da dun 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 dun. He's just like messing around with his buttons in between stuff. So I cut a bunch of the stuff where it's like da 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 da. Like, dude, what is that noise? It's Kenny on the buttons. So I strip a lot of that silence in here. Come on, Michael Nelson. You can hear in there's a few moves that Michael and I love to do. Michael Nelson, brilliant horn arranger, my favorite horn arranger in the world. Baddest cat. He and I both love to do these staggering lines, kind of cascading waterfall lines where one person, it's just like we take our turns doing stuff, and it really adds a depth and dimension to it. You can hear in this first phrase I'm going to play the Delio, Delio. Just listen to how some of the lines cascade from one player to the next. Great writing. Nice work, Michael. Bridge. Oh, yeah, we added a little extra. That out. Look at that. Little noise got through me there. Here we go. Fix it in post. Somebody breathing or just blowing air through their horn. Yeah, fix it after it's done and the album's out. That's what we're doing here. So people have asked about how I mix horns. A lot of horns is just getting great horn players playing great horn arrangements. Honestly, that's number one. It kind of mixes itself. You could see there's stuff up and down by a couple dB, and then I pan them how I feel it's appropriate for the song. EQ wise, actually this is quite a bit different than I normally would. It looks like Kenny's tone was a little darker on his alto that day. Normally I would dip around 1K. Tenor, this looks about right. Although normally I would leave in a little more. Barry, Yeah, I dip around here just because some of that, all this stuff in here really gets built up within the horn section. If you have a lot of horn players, it gets built up in there, so I like to take that out. Sax bus. I mean, what are we doing here? Okay. I had the decapitator on here on both of the sax bus and the brass bus. I'll show you why. It just added a little extra sizzle, a little extra of a thing. Sometimes what happens, because the horn players, they recorded everything individually. They didn't record in the same room because we just had to do it remotely. A lot of times when you do it that way, when you don't have the bleed and just everything happening together, it honestly sounds fake for whatever reason. It can just start to sound fake. So I had a little bit of this grit in there. Here's just the saxes. Same thing without the decapitator now. Well, there you hear the edits more, interestingly enough. It just adds a little bit of a thing to it. Same with the brass section. Let me get this. Especially in the trumpet. There's a couple tunes where Jay's tone is just a little too pure. It's like, that sounds MIDI. It's crazy to say. That's without the decapitator. Here it is with it on. Felt right to me. And you can see the way that I organize this is I have the saxes going into a sax bus. I have the brass going into a brass bus. And then the brass and sax buses go into an all horns bus. Other people have criticized me because other people, as in my friend John Fields, he's like, why do you have so many layers of compression? The sax bus has its own. It's being compressed. The brass bus is being compressed. And then the all horns is being compressed a little bit. I don't know. It just sounds right to me. It just sounds good to me. But again, there's just no rules. Whatever sounds good to you is fine. That's what's right. So just because somebody else does something different than you, fine. But it is okay to be questioned and say, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't do this. In this case, it sounded good to me. Is it necessary? I don't know. But it was necessary for me to get it to sound the way that I wanted it to sound. So I guess it was necessary. This is an interesting one. D-reverb. Why am I doing this? What was Kenny recording in? Let's listen without. Okay, yeah, I was taking out a little bit of the room sound. Whatever. Great, that's what I thought. I'm listening to it now. I'm like, really? Was that necessary? I guess. Again, it felt necessary at the time. It was fine. There was probably some other portion in there where it felt like I was getting too much character of a room, and I wanted it tight with the big bloom behind it. All right, I'm going to leave this whirly in just because I lost the piano. Oh, yeah, and I still have the original bass solo. We're going to look at that. I'll let you listen to that one. Guitar solo. I was going for the Benson vibe. Come at me. I was going Benson vibe. And then I think I just duplicated the channel just to give myself a little bit of drive halfway through. Little slop in there. Who cares? Yeah, so this extra guy, just adding some extra. Wide. Drive. All right, little sloppy in there at spots. That's part of the vibe. That's called live music, baby. That groove that Armando and Johannes are playing is so sick. I love the way Armando's leaving space in there. But still, it's got enough. Listen to this. Builds later. All right. So arrangement-wise, I think about a lot of things as either gradual builds or stair steps. In this case, it's just it's a very obvious stair step. And a lot of what can happen, a lot of musicians will just start playing way harder, which isn't always necessary if you have more instruments. Sometimes something stair-stepping up is literally somebody else just coming in, you know? So you can hear it from, there's a small stair step at the halfway point. Just from the guitar and the whirly coming in now. So that already does its own thing. The drums and bass don't need to change at all. The fact that two other instruments are coming in already gives us an extra thing. So a lot of times when you're playing in sessions or when you're playing live, if you feel like you need to stair step something, it's not always that you need to change something in your playing. Sometimes it's just adding, if there's other people around, just have them wait. Or maybe you wait. Just don't come in until halfway through. That's one of the things that you can do to really kind of help give some depth to your arrangements, where it's not always just, I need to start playing harder because it's stair stepping. Sometimes it's like, these people are going to come in. I don't need to do anything different because them coming in already is just doing the thing that needs to happen. But then there's times where it's a very clear step up. Rhythm section is really building. All of a sudden the brass section comes in. And you can hear that dismount makes it so obvious in every way, in the arrangement and in the playing. It's so obvious that we're going somewhere else. And then as it resolves, it has some sort of emotional release. So there's enough tension that's built up and it's released right there. So that's another thing in arrangements. You want to think about tension and release, how things breathe. That's going to help your arrangements a lot. That's something I'm always thinking about. Okay, let's mute this guitar solo and see what's going on. Let's listen to the bass solo. If I remember correctly, I was stoked about the bass solo. It's what I originally wanted. Then I was like, maybe I do need to do a guitar solo. And then it was a fun opportunity for me to kind of do the Benson thing, my version of it. Come on, Johannes. Yeah. Oh yeah, slap guy. That's dope. I mean, that's a great solo. Yeah. Do I have verb on the bass? Yeah, I got verb on the bass. Ha! If Jocko did it, I can do it, you know. So anyways, great bass solo, but it's a guitar solo. So the arrangement of this tune has changed a fair amount since I made this recording. And now live, we have a couple other things where it just kind of morphed into its own thing. And that's actually what's really fun about tunes like this is at its core, it's very simple. It's two sections. The A section, which it starts with the chords and then eventually the head comes in, repeats, and then it goes to the bridge. We solo over the A section, cue the bridge, A section out. At the end of the day, that's pretty simple. That's just what it is. And now the song takes on a life of its own. As we're playing it live, we change the arrangement a little bit. Different solos. I have been soloing on it a little bit recently, but mostly it's been a bass and flugelhorn solo. Because live, it feels like I can get away with two solos. On the album, it felt like, it only needs one. Fine. But that's a beautiful thing about some instrumental tunes is that you don't need a lot of sections. You don't need that much information. It's just how you arrange it and how you build the roadmap for those sections is what can make it really interesting and what can help you really maximize all the mileage out of each of the sections that you have. And if you've ever watched these videos, it's the same master bus that I use on pretty much everything, except for I have this transient shaper. This is a little trick I learned from Jack Stratton. I take a transient shaper. The soft tube one is the one that I like to use. And the sustain of the low end, I put the crossover around 200, 300 hertz. I pull out a little bit of sustain from the low end, and it kind of clears up some of the ringiness in the low end. I'll play from one of the big spots so you can tell the difference. So there it is, tightening up the low end a little bit. Here's with it off. Doing just a little bit of work. Actually, let me show you what it would be like if I went extreme on it, just so you can hear. So you can hear all the low end stuff that's sustainy just gets pulled back. Now, could I just fix this in the mix portion and not on my master bus? Probably, yeah. But I'm doing a little bit here. Sue me. A lot of mastering engineers I know use this sort of thing to kind of clean and tighten up low end. Sometimes I'll do that on buses, like maybe on the drum bus. I like where everything is, but the low end's a little sustainy. I'll throw that transient shaper on there. That's that. Pretty simple tune. As you can see from this, we're not all perfect. I lost the files, but the album is out. The piano's on the album. That's what counts. James is an incredible piano player. I am hurt that I lost his files, but it happens. Is my mix perfect? No, but I'm working it out. We're figuring it all out. My process isn't perfect, but that hopefully is an encouragement to you that whatever process it takes for you to get your mixes the way that you want them to sound, great. But also listen to your friends when they say, why are you doing that? Or a trusted friend in your inner circle to be like, something sounds weird here. And sometimes we get defensive because we've put in a bunch of hours, but then it's like, yeah, listening back, I don't know why I did that. It doesn't sound great. So that's my advice. Figure it out. Have some friends around you that you trust. And yeah, read the books, watch the videos, but do whatever it takes to get stuff the way that you want it to sound, the way that you can get it there. Peace.